Have you ever felt like you were always there for others, but when you needed someone, no one was there for you? This isn't just a story. It's a mirror. Meet Daniel Brooks. He was the kind of man everyone trusted, the kind of guy everyone loved. He lived in a small American town, the type of place where people knew each other by name, and kindness still seemed to matter. At least, that's what Daniel believed. If someone needed help moving, Daniel showed up. No questions asked. If a coworker needed a shift covered, Daniel said yes, without a second thought. If a friend was short on cash, Daniel opened his wallet and didn't ask when he'd be paid back. People always said, Daniel is the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And for a long, long time, Daniel was proud of that title. He wore it like a badge of honor. But kindness has a hidden cost, a price that Daniel didn't realize he was paying, one small piece at a time. Daniel worked a regular job. Nothing fancy. The bills were always tight, but he made it work. Yet, every single week, it felt like someone needed something from him. Hey Daniel, can you help me move this weekend? Can you lend me some cash until payday? Can you stay late again? We're really in a bind, and every single time, Daniel would smile and say yes. But on the inside, something was slowly starting to crack. He was tired, not just physically tired, but emotionally drained. He felt invisible. He was the reliable one, the one everyone counted on. But who was counting on him? At night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, Daniel felt completely empty. He gave everything he had to others, but his own life felt stuck, like a car spinning its wheels in the mud, going nowhere. And then came the breaking point. It happened on a Tuesday. Daniel's boss called him into the office. The air was heavy. His boss looked at him with a strange mix of pity and detachment and said, Daniel, we're letting you go. Just like that? No warning, no explanation. Just gone. The foundation Daniel had built his life on, the job that paid for his kindness, was pulled out from under him. The news hit him like a physical blow. He walked out of the office in a daze. The first person he called was his best friend, the one he'd helped move just last month. The phone went straight to voicemail. He tried another friend, the one he'd lent money to. Sorry, man, I'm swamped right now. Can I call you back? The call never came. He went down the list, one by one. The people he had always said yes to were suddenly busy, unavailable, or simply didn't answer. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. That night, Daniel sat alone in his quiet house. The emptiness he'd felt before was now a vast, crushing void. He had spent his life being everyone's hero, their safety net. But when he fell, there was no net to catch him. He wasn't the nicest guy you'll ever meet anymore. He was just a man who had given everything away until there was nothing left for himself. This is the danger of being a people pleaser. You become a resource, not a person. You teach people that your needs don't matter, but they do. Your energy, your time, your well-being, they matter more than anything. Daniel's story is a painful but powerful reminder. Sometimes, the most important person you need to say yes to is yourself. And sometimes, the kindest word you can say to others is no. If you've ever felt like Daniel, know that you're not alone. It's never too late to start setting boundaries and putting your own needs first. It isn't selfish, it's survival. Have you ever felt completely drained, like you've given everything you have to everyone around you, only to find yourself alone when you need them most? This is the story of Daniel, a man who learned a painful but powerful lesson about kindness. Daniel walked home in silence. The weight of the world was on his shoulders. Just hours before, he'd been the hero. The one who dropped everything to help a friend move. The one who lent money he barely had. The one who stayed up all night listening to someone else's problems. He was always there. But today, when he needed someone, the silence was deafening. He reached out to his friends, the very ones he had sacrificed for. Suddenly, they were all busy. His calls went unanswered. His texts were left unread. That night, Daniel sat alone in his quiet apartment, the city lights flickering outside his window. He looked around at the empty space, and a single, heartbreaking question echoed in his mind. He whispered it to himself. I gave everyone everything. So why am I alone? In that moment of profound loneliness, a harsh truth hit him like a tidal wave. Being kind didn't automatically earn him respect. Being available didn't guarantee appreciation. His generosity had been taken for granted, leaving him empty and isolated. It was a devastating realization, the kind that forces you to question everything you thought you knew about relationships and your own self. A few days later, still reeling from this new understanding, Daniel found himself on a park bench, lost in a fog of confusion and hurt. The sun was warm, but he felt a chill deep inside. An elderly man, with kind eyes and a gentle smile, sat down beside him. He didn't intrude, just sat in companionable silence for a moment before speaking softly. "You look exhausted, son." The simple observation was enough to break down the walls Daniel had built. He let out a long, weary sigh. "I tried to be good to everyone," Daniel confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I gave them my time, my energy, my support. Now, I have nothing left for myself." The old man listened patiently, then nodded with a knowing look. "Ah," he said, his voice full of wisdom. "Kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction." Those words struck Daniel with the force of a physical blow. Self-destruction. He had never thought of it that way. He thought he was being a good person, a good friend. He didn't realize he was slowly erasing himself in the process. Seeing the shock on Daniel's face, the man continued, "You're not weak for wanting to help. Your heart is in the right place, but you're just giving from an empty cup. You can't pour for others if you have nothing inside." Daniel looked at his hands. For the first time, he saw them not as tools to help others, but as hands that also needed to receive, to hold, to build something for himself. The old man's words weren't an accusation. They were a permission slip, a permission to finally take care of himself. The very next day, armed with this new perspective, Daniel did something that felt both terrifying and liberating. He said no. His coworker asked him to cover another shift on his only day off. "I'm sorry, I can't," Daniel said, his heart pounding. A friend called, asking for a last-minute ride across town during rush hour. "I won't be able to make it," he replied, his voice shaking slightly. He said no to favors that drained him. He said no to the guilt trips that always followed. Most importantly, he said no to people who only seemed to remember his number when they needed something. The reaction was immediate. It was uncomfortable. People were surprised. Some were even angry. He was called selfish. He was accused of changing. And in a way, they were right. He was changing. "But wait. Everybody know," he uttered. Something inside him felt lighter, stronger. A space began to open up in his life, a space that used to be filled with other people as emergencies and demands. For the first time in as long as he could remember, Daniel chose himself. He put his own needs, his own peace, his own well-being first. It wasn't about being unkind. It was about being honest about his own limits. Weeks turned into months, and Daniel's life began a quiet transformation. With the newfound time and energy he had reclaimed, he started focusing on himself. He enrolled in an online course to learn a new skill he'd always been curious about. He updated his resume and started applying for better jobs, ones that valued his abilities and offered real growth. He started exercising, taking long walks in the park, and paying attention to what his body needed. He wasn't just saying no to others. He was saying yes to himself, over and over again. Slowly but surely, the world around him started to reflect the changes within him. He landed a new job with better pay and, more importantly, a workplace culture where he felt respected for his contributions, not just his willingness to do extra. His finances stabilized. He felt healthier and more energetic than he had in years. But the biggest and most profound change wasn't external. The constant anxiety of pleasing everyone had vanished, replaced by a calm confidence. So what's the lesson here? His heart was still generous. Kindness is one of the most powerful forces in the world, but your boundaries are what protect it and keep it sustainable.